And,
the government has granted Snowden refugee travel documents.
I'm going to go ahead and share that link on my Facebook page.
Multiple countries, and Latin America has the best legal options, which is key for Snowden.
1 second.
2 weeks ago, Snowden acknowledged the risks in coming forward and hinted at a life on the run.
I could be, rendered by the CIA. I could have people come after me.
Just getting that link.
They're third-party partners. They work closely with a number of other nations. Or they could pay off the triads, or any.
The triads.
Or murder.
We are confident that at the end of this trial, you will know in your head, in your heart,
What happened?
in your stomach.
What happened with the verdict on
that
this
George
Zimmerman
did
case?
not shoot Trayvon Martin because he had to. He shot him for the worst of all reasons, because he wanted to.
George Zimmerman is not guilty.
That's libel. How does a lawyer get away with
Trayvon Martin
saying things like that?
Joining me now from the courthouse.
Sorry, I'm going to go ahead and turn
is
this
Judge Alex Ferrer.
down so I can just look at the ticker and the headlines. Actually, that whole Trayvon thing was a controlled. That whole Trayvon thing was a controlled event trying to attack the Castle Law, and when that failed, basically, then they ran the Aurora operation because they were so worried about Castle Law interfering with the Tampa Republican National Convention. So, close that out. Still got you guys here. Oh, nope, hold on. I need to take a look and see if I can keep up with your comments. Okay. Okay, so one of the things that I've been working on recently throughout what I've been doing with the Aurora operation. Alright. Is to look at this Zach Goldich, this incident with Zach Goldich and the trajectory analysis. And I guess one of the things I can kind of do is pull up my 3D model and share the screen so that we can talk about that. Full screen. Share the screen. Okay. Now. There are a number of reasons to believe that Aurora was a conspiracy besides the analysis, but one of the biggest ones is the explosives that went off in Theater 8. And what I have here is a diagram kind of where everyone is sitting, or with the way the theaters look. And the theater on your left, currently where the 3D view camera is Theater 9, and then Theater 8 is this other one. And I guess one of the easiest ways to kind of explain this is to just bring up the actual thread itself, where I make all those arguments. Okay, so some people were arguing that somehow the shooter didn't have to break, they're trying to say that you don't have to, they're attacking the idea that perhaps the shooter, when he came in, shot and it went through this wall and then hit Gage Hankins right here. Now my walls here are actually misleading. They're actually supposed to be a couple feet higher than this. Just as an example, that's 2 feet right there. And go ahead and build it. Now this is actually consistent with the images that we have. You see the way that looks, the height ratio to where the chairs are at. I suppose I'll bring that up right now. And right here, you can take a look at that same image, but this is the real theater, and you'll see that that the chairs are quite a bit lower than the actual dividing wall. So they're trying to say that when the shooter came in, right, the shooter comes in and he fires this way, that the bullet only had to go through 3 walls. But what I'm trying to show is that it did in fact go through multiple walls. And now they are actually conceding that. They're actually saying, oh, but you know, the assault rifle the AR-15 can put a bullet through multiple walls and stuff. And it's like, you know what, I'm just going to say okay to that. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what these walls are composed out of, but if you want to make the argument that the bullet, you know, penetrated roughly 6 materials before it hit Gage Hankins, and then the bullet split up into a bunch of pieces, you know, okay, because it's just going to weaken your argument. But you know, this is not just one wall that this sucker is going through. This is multiple walls here. Gage would be like right here, and that bullet would have had to go through multiple walls, basically. This is just discounting the actual testimony as to what happened. And the testimony as to what happened is highly, highly indicative of explosives. We just show you. This is how they described it. Numerous testimonies and descriptions suggesting explosives: firecrackers, hiss, smoke, bang, boom, pop, flash, heat, shrapnel, set gas bombs as they were leaving, source of the smoke, ringing air, pepper bombs, explosion, and I don't have listed how they call it, Black Cat firecracker, and they also said threw gas bombs into our theater. That was a tweet. So, you know, there's just an overwhelming amount of evidence, basically. I don't even have, yeah, there it is, heat. Yeah, you know, you have Megan Walton saying her leg got really hot. So this is just trying to work within their story. So side by side of the theater, yeah, I kind of made a side by side image. It kind of helps you take a look at the heck? Why does it say 68K? What? I need to find out if 68,000 people just like that. No, that's post image. Alright. Okay. Anyway, this is a side-by-side. And you can tell that it's kind of like V'd out, you know, like it's V'd out. And in reality, those walls need to collapse, and that's even more indicative of how far behind that sucker is. And then the adjoining walls V'd out. Simply put, you have to imagine folding them together. Here's a comparison between the 3D model I have and the actual theater, and then looking directly within the wall. So this is taking a look at these two theaters. You're looking inside the wall, and the shooter, as you can see over here in the bottom left, that's where the shooter would have came in. And then you'll see as if he fires from right here, you'll notice that that red line is actually making, you know, is actually going through the stairwell wall in Theater 9. It's going through the adjoining wall, and it's going through another stairwell wall in Theater 8. So, you know, and not to mention, this is really important, but That guy had a shotgun. He exhausted a shotgun, a Remington shotgun, which I think is like 7 or 8 bullets, I don't know. 7 or 8 shots before he switched to the AR-15. So, simply put, the bullet that apparently went through these walls, if it's fired over here in the beginning of the shooting, because he's moving around basically, if he fired this bullet would necessarily be a bird shot, or whatever, the pellet, the shot. And people are going to make the argument, oh well, what if he was firing slugs? Well, that's just not true, because you've already got official stories of people being shot. Actually, what's his face? I mean, what's his name? God. I don't know. The guy that was in Sandy Hook. Anyway, he got shot definitely with a shotgun. You've also got people showing off their shotgun wounds. So anyway, you can see it crossing through roughly 3 walls this way. And these are not just walls. These are, that could be a supporting wall, basically. That has to be fireproof. It has to block sound. It could be a supporting wall. This is a very large structure. I don't remember how big this is. But if that's a supporting wall, then what you could expect is a stone that is made out of stone. And definitely these dividing walls are not just mere what do they call that? Sheetrock. Because if that were the case, then kids would be kicking their feet through it and stuff like that, and bumping their heads and putting dents in it. So what you're likely to expect on those is plywood, and then whatever's on the inside, that it would have to go through. This is actually just very annoying, because you've got all this witness testimony that it's an explosive device, basically. So I'm just kind of like playing within the rules here to show them that this is not likely to be a bullet. So if he ascends the stairs on the right, so the official story actually originally has him going up the right side just like that. And why would they pitch that? Because they need him firing into Theater 8 continuously to account for some of these injuries, basically. Because if he went up the theater, or if he went up the left side, then people would start making the argument, oh, he didn't fire into Theater 8, he was firing away from it. And he actually did ascend the left stairs, according to Jennifer Seeger. So that's important. And if he ascended the stairs on the left, but he went through the middle, then what we got is something like this, and you're still going through 3 walls. In fact, you're even going through this metal grating right here. And this is, I think, his most likely route. Now, some people might make the argument, well, I suppose I should back up this layout with an image of the theater. As you can see, the way the chairs, I've already counted all the chairs. Like, I've got this sucker as best I can to scale, basically. But you can kind of see how it'd be difficult for the shooter to actually cross in front of the screen firing. Now, that's not impossible, but I'm more inclined to think that there's just a bit more space going down here through the middle. I do find it weird that he would even go over to the left side, but he did, apparently. He went up the stairs on the left side. So did he go in front of the screen, or did he go behind this middle section? Now, if he goes behind the middle section, he's basically turning his back on people. So that may not be the case. He may have actually walked in front. And I simply can't tell how much space is in front, but you can see from this diagram that it's not impossible for him to walk in front. And he would have had an inclination to walk in front, because people would have been exiting the theater immediately in that direction, out that left side. They would be immediately averted to his entry from the right and start crawling out that top exit door on the left side and start swirling down out the left side from there. So he would have had some drive to head towards the left in order to, shoot as many people as he could before they could escape. Well, anyway, if he went through the middle, you can see that it's going to go through 3 walls, basically. And lastly, if he goes in front, which is, I think, actually what happened, but regardless, he's basically firing into the wall. Now, that's not impossible. It's not impossible. So this is actually consistent with what they're trying to pitch in the official story now, because now they're saying Ostergaard was like, I heard something whiz past my neck. And this is part of the cover-up, because in the same article, he's like, and lo and behold, I now realize that was a bullet. Well, during the same time period, he said he had no clue how, I just feel like I have to quote these things, because people are just like, they don't believe me. Whiz. Kidman. Well, I don't know if that's a correct word we can use here. Alright, neck. It's probably going to end up Golditch. Oh man, I'm such a nerd. Alright, it's not doing it. Oh man, my cat's going crazy bins right now. There it is. I already mentioned it earlier. Alright, well, whatever. I want you guys to see my cat right now. You have to make like mouse noises, basically. There he goes. Raise the hands. Alright. Let's see if there's any comments. View all comments. That's depressing. There's no comments. Is this live? Alright, let me go ahead and share the screen again. Alright, so yeah, okay. Okay, that works, but then, okay, but the really most important thing here is that, let's say he does shoot Gage Hankins, just like that. Zach Golditch, who's seated ground level, says he gets shot, and he gets shot in the left side of his neck, and it goes in through the bottom part, down near his earlobe, and comes out the lower part of his neck. Okay? And what's really important about that is, he says that for that to even be the case, is he says that he's turned looking at basically Gage, who just got shot. And for that to be the case, your shooter is at this point literally just firing right into the wall. Okay, and not just that, but for Zach Golditch to be turning to his right would necessarily imply he is somewhere in this area. I mean, he's past all of these people for him to necessarily be looking behind him and to the right. So he's like basically in the middle of the theater, and there's no telling. I mean, he could be way over here, you know. So, you know, basically, and you know, you got Zach Goldich saying a black cat firecracker went off right behind his head. So, or a firecracker hit him in the back of the head. That's what he said. And then he goes outside, and some army dude with medical training was like, oh well, it's like you got a shrapnel injury, and then the doctor's like, no, you actually had a serious, you know, gunshot wound. And then the construction worker comes out and says, sorry, I actually, quote unquote, lied to you to keep you calm. It's like, yeah, right, dude. So, all right. So, and then I'm like, just to display the absurdity of this, the most generous shot trajectory I can give for Hankins' injury, which totally isn't, as you say, you know, okay, is a barely believable shot. All other permutations are dumb. So I've got the shooter here, and he fires for some reason directly towards the wall. It's not impossible. I mean, there could be people like running right there in front of him. He's firing at them. This is highly unlikely, though. I mean, you know, why? Like, this is literally the only one. This is the only part. This is the only trajectory where it goes past the stairs and everything. And every other trajectory is just going to put him closer and closer to the wall. You know, so it's a totally ridiculous shot. But then this is where it gets really ridiculous, because for Hankins to be hit, and then for Goldich to be reacting to that, in order for him to be shot in the left side of his neck, then you're going to have the shooter. Because the shooter has to fire it straight. If he fires it at an angle, Goldich is basically dead. So he has to fire it straight in order to clip a neck turned to the right, in order for it to go straight into the neck and then out the back. You've got the shooter basically firing a direct shot into the wall. And people are going to be like, oh, well, this is consistent with James Holmes' character of being just a nutcase. It's like, no, man, you need to think about this, okay? Like, the shooter has all of these people screaming, running, going crazy, and he's going to turn and then put a round right into the wall. This is unlikely. Not only would it be unlikely for him to expose his back like that, but to, I don't know, just put a round into the wall. I think it's just, I don't know, it's just unbelievable. I mean, you can basically try to believe that for yourself if you want, but even then, look at this trajectory. This is with Goldich in possibly the most believable spot, and then you have to wonder about the time delay. Like, he hits Hankins, and then Goldich reacts, and then what's going on? Is Goldich going to sit there and look back for, you know, 13 seconds while he's watching a movie, and then for the shooter to fire another round? But what's really important here is that look at how many shots would be fired by the time these shots are fired, right? If the shooter had to cross all the way in front of the screen while firing, these people, like the testimony says, were completely unaware that there were shots being fired in the theater. Why? Because of just the general soundproofing that was going on. Everybody said they didn't know what was going on until someone told them what was going on. So, you know, and the fact that they had, like, I guess, an action scene going on helped, you know, keep their minds distracted as to what was going on. But basically, you've got Rachel Fedeli literally saying, yeah, there were 2 pops and a bunch of smoke, and then there was another pop and more smoke, which is 3 distinct pops. You basically have the witnesses in the theater saying the same thing. Yeah, there was a hiss, some smoke, there was a bang, flash, there was a boom, there was an explosion. I felt like a firecracker hit me in the back of the head. So you actually have just these explosive devices going off in Theater 8, which is being covered up by the bullets through the wall testimony. And that's not to say bullets didn't go through the walls. In fact, I think bullets hit Michaela Hicks and her friend Lori Schaefer up here at the top right, top left corner of Theater 8, and that's simply because of just where they were seated. Michaela Hicks was actually very close to, well, they actually said they made their way down the stairs on the right side, dripping blood. And that's probably when, I don't know, maybe that's when they decided to set off the gas cans or something. I don't know the timeline when it comes to when they got hit. To look more into that. But let's see, is there any comments for me? Oh, here we go. Okay. I don't know what that means. Alright, I'm just going to leave it on with it live, and then you're going to watch me lay down on the couch while I wait for people to talk to me. Because I'm bored. Oh, fuck. I might start doing this every day at like 11 p.m. or something like that. That'd be kind of fun, right? Let's see. Alright. So, what do we want to talk about? How I totally predicted everything that's going on right now. Do you want to talk about that? Yeah, so basically, I was like, God, Aurora really blew up in their faces. I'm wondering now if they're going to start staging an uprising. And basically, lo and behold, what's going on right now is, in fact, consistent with the staged uprising. This Snowden character is a total CIA asset. It's very scary because I cannot tell what the operation is going to end up doing. But one way or another, it's going to have to end up impeaching Obama, I think, because you have a whole bunch of compromised persons under the operating under the supposition that they're having to keep quiet because they're bringing down a conspiracy of some sort, specifically with Obama. So, I really can't tell. I can't tell what's going on. Let's see if I can... That's very kind of you. So, life is going pretty well. Can't complain. Actually, I can complain. Everything is kind of crappy. I mean, isn't it funny how we have footage of the Tsarnaev brothers literally getting set up? Like, literally. You've got the older brother being put into a cop car and then ending up dead. And you've got the younger brother screaming, "We didn't do it," and then he ends up getting traked. And you've got it on mainstream news, and you've got senators saying it was a conspiracy. And it's absolutely insane what we're capable of putting up with. I'm actually ashamed. I'm ashamed of the American people. I'm ashamed that people, and you know, the biggest problem we have now is just a general apathy amongst the American public. You know, I wonder if all of these, you know, like, maybe I'm just not seeing it here, but, you know, all of those activists, all those Occupy Wall Street people and stuff, I mean, aren't they, don't you think that they would be somewhat active and concerned that there is a conspiracy? And maybe, you know what we have to do? and I don't like giving this sort of stuff away, but you basically just have to start movements. You have to start clubs, and it's not that hard, I guess. You just have to kind of set up like a little booth or something and say Conspiracy Theory Club, you know, and it has a bunch of information for how you join like or no, how you get educated on conspiracy theory through whatever different YouTube videos. And I'm sure that in that way you might be able to access resources for possibly get things done. But I think the most disconcerting thing is to know that the American people basically all hated Bush, all thought something was up with Bush. And then nothing ever happened, really. He stayed in office, and he's not in jail. And it really shows that we have no power. And I think now that Obama is totally revealing himself to be in on it, we're all waking up to how there's a much broader conspiracy involved here. And you've actually got, it's crazy how much exposure they're getting right now. You've got celebrities getting on air. And sorry, I just want to show you my cat is more interested in my face. You've got celebrities getting on air, being openly, sort of anti-establishment, and that's really important. That's going to put it into the mainstream narrative that there's a 1%er conspiracy, and whoa! Wow, Berlusconi, isn't he the Italian prime minister or something? And it turns out that he was, what's going on, y'all? They're like freaking out about something. And it turns out that he was paying for sex with a minor, so that's pretty interesting. Hey, the world's a fucked up roller coaster. The grid is bad, but the destination will be surprising, and that makes life fun. We have power, but a lot of people are too lazy to do anything. I know, man. Like, I swear to God, if I had, I just wouldn't be a very rich man for very long, because I would totally like bring this sucker down if I had just the slightest amount of money to be able to take care of myself for a couple months. Oh yeah, I would not kick back. I would definitely become a problem. They would definitely want to kill me. And then imagine, but that's the thing though. They have to be waking up. The people that do have that money, that sort of money, doctors, everyone else. I mean, it's extremely volatile right now. If they're willing to entertain the concept of a conspiracy against the American people, and they're doing that on the mainstream news, you run the risk of potentially waking up some super powerful people, and it just takes a little, while for them to really kind of understand what's going on. So it is very confusing to me, and I think it's a summer-long timeline that whatever it is that's supposed to happen will happen within the summer, basically. But I am kind of wondering when people all come back to school, when the students come back to school, and that it's going to actually cause their parents to become more active. Like, everyone's just kind of chilling because it's the summer right now, and we're all just happy to be with our families and stuff. But when the kids all go back to school, and the parents they've got nothing but financial problems, and the students are all mixed in with all of their new peers, and suddenly you're going to have a big shift in consciousness. So what else is there? So does anyone know what's going on with the Zimmerman case? What was the verdict there? Verdict, Zimmerman. So I guess he got off, and then because there's no black members of the jury, I really don't care. I mean, I do care because I don't want them to turn this into an attack on the castle law, but I don't think it will. So it's good to see them do whatever they're doing with. Okay. It's probably just, now that's just like a time bandit operation, smokescreen, something they can talk about. It's a volatile subject to talk about. It's not your run-of-the-mill Jodi Arias thing to talk about. All right. I guess we should talk about what they plan on doing. Because I'll be honest with you, when I saw them like really mess up for whenever they really messed up with Aurora, I was like, I mean, I got evidence of it, of me basically saying exactly what they're going to do. So this video was on September 12th, and I basically was like, okay, that Benghazi thing was kind of weird. They seemed to be attacking Obama over it, and I was like, yep, they're going to make Obama out to be a conspirator. And then lo and behold, they decided to do that after Aurora. In fact, after... You know what I'm going to do? I want to see when they decided to do that. January, February, March, April, August. Excuse me. June, July, August. So the Sikh temple shooting actually happened early August. And then, oh my God, I like this video right here. I don't know if you guys can see it.
Term limit thing in the presidency. This isn't like Congress. I can't just keep on running. And let me say this. When I talk about women's issues, I'm talking about experiences that I've seen in my own life. Everybody knows Michelle. But,
Man, it's so crazy to be so important and so disadvantaged. How come I feel like I'm the only one who even knows what I'm talking about? Oh, yeah, that's true. That would be interesting if you stop supplying the public with their highs, their placation. Honestly, I'll go ahead and tell you. People say, "Well, what happened to the American people? Is it the fluoride in the water and stuff like that?" And it's like, I don't know, man. I think it's the drugs. I think it's everything that I think that I've been capable of doing. And despite the fact that I basically did in fact have mental breakdowns and like anxiety and depression and stuff like that, but I never sought to alleviate those mental illnesses with drug use. And unfortunately, everybody else does, or they don't go for the drugs if they're already happy, so to speak. So, everything in your life kind of worked out okay, and so, you get to be like, oh, I don't do any drugs because, well, everything was paid for and you got married and shit. But yeah, I think drug use is the sole contributing factor to the. I'm not a hater on drugs. I just honestly believe if people were not placating themselves, because I've seen what happens to people that smoke pot, they actually just kind of become extremely ineffective. I mean, I'm not saying like it's bad or they become lazy and stuff like that. It's okay, but it's like a lot of time passes and they're totally fine with it. Oh, look at that. They drew a diagram of everything that was going on with this Zimmerman case. And Trayvon's dad is a Mason. He's a black Mason. And there are pictures of him and his brother with him getting inducted into the Masonic Society. And they recruit these Masons right out of the military, That was a totally staged event, and why that didn't work, I don't know. I mean, it was staged because you have Obama getting his butt up in there, saying stuff like, "If I had a son, it would be like Trayvon." So they are clearly turning on Obama and then using this staged event to help assist turning on Obama. Why they didn't do a good job they could have got some pretty good PR for black people and put some black people on that jury and then had the black people incriminate Trayvon, and then we could have had some nice PR there. But it's almost like they want to maybe they knew that black jury members would invariably vote for or try to prosecute Zimmerman or something. God, like race, it sucks so bad, dude. Racism is clearly an issue, and Jefferson was very concerned about race relations. Like Jefferson actually he lamented that we destroyed the native population as much as we did when we did. But he wanted to have us intermarry with the native population, if only to have a single ethnic identity for the American people. Basically, Jefferson was extremely concerned about the rise of tyranny through the subversion of the Constitution. He was doing whatever it took to protect, to safeguard humanity against tyranny, which is what we see now. Quite amazing when you think about it. And I wish he would have tried a little harder, because he was trying to, like, imagine how much better things I think would be if he would have successfully did what he was doing, especially for Africa, the Africans, if he in fact would have freed the slaves, but then deported them to Liberia. And you might think that's a racist verdict. It doesn't mean that they can't come back as African, people or African immigrants or something like that to the Americas. I'm sure that there would be much better race relations that way, rather than, say, releasing a bunch of malcontents, that means like unhappy people, into your population. Yeah, and so that's another thing. It's just a big money dump, the drugs are. Let's see. I mean, I think as an American citizen, we're born into the front lines of this battle, basically. We're kind of like, we're fortunate enough to be right there at the front lines, and we're also, I think we might also be enduring quite a bit too. You might make the argument, well, it really sucks for, say, this random Arab country or this random Eastern European country, and then you cite like these terrible whatever conditions. But you might also consider the conditions that are in place for, say, the typical American citizen whose primary offense, whose primary aggression by the powers that be is literally the manipulation of you. Like, they don't care so much to manipulate the civilizations that they're targeting. The American people, though, however, are totally under a barrage of mind manipulation, of mind control, basically. And even if you're, say, safeguarded against it by being a relatively, whatever, independent thinker, you've got every other person, pretty much every single person, totally subject to it. So you may not even be, thinking, or you may not even be subject to the mind control, but everyone around you absolutely is. And this can be very bad. I mean, so it sucks to get manipulated. You're not even in control of yourself. How much does that suck, right? That you don't even control yourself. Well, then you've also got the people who, let's say they are in control of themselves, being pushed out because of their being different and stuff like that. This is so beautiful. I think this is Snortelhans. That guy's a conspiracy theorist. You sound just like him. We'll talk in just a minute. He's already talking about that. Alright, talk, man.
Omega Coaxial, the most perfect mechanical watch movement in the world.
Now that might not be Snortelhans, but it sure does sound like him. Okay. So, got about 7 minutes left before I don't know, maybe I'll go longer than that. What if I started doing this every day? I started doing like a sort of a recap at 11 o'clock on what I might have come up with or what I'm thinking. All right. 1 second. Any more topics? Leave comments if you want to bring up a topic. Why don't I just check out the forums real quick? There's always shit happening in the Middle East, and it's just like the stock market. It's like apparently it doesn't matter. You know, they're always going to print the money. The Arabs are never going to be taken seriously. Let's see. Chuck Schumer predicts mass civil unrest if House kills the amnesty bill. Schumer's an idiot. What is the amnesty bill? Oh, that's this. Nobody gives a shit about immigration. That's just stirring up race relations, really. What are they doing? Affirmative action case to be sent back to lower court. They're clearly stirring up race right now. Why are they doing that? It's weird. Okay. Doombert. I like him. Want some friggin' Doom boner? Nuclear terror whistleblower David Chase Taylor in Swiss court. For the very first time, the shocking evidence of Obama nuclear terror whistleblower David. Come on, write things better than this, okay? For Swiss political asylum will be entered into official court. What does that mean, dude? Not helping. I have to, like, dig, you know? That's the best part. I have to, like, dig. Spend time. I'm going to read this. For the very first time, the shocking evidence of Obama nuclear terror whistleblower, which makes no sense. Those combinations of words don't make any sense. Swiss political asylum will be entered in the official court. Okay. Okay, what is that event? Shocking evidence. I'll click on that link. Seeking political asylum in Switzerland? Although it has not yet been confirmed, it does appear that the case of alleged NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden is yet another elaborate scheme designed by the CIA, yes, to divert attention away from Taylor's case in Switzerland. Oh, so here's the story. Good job. Okay. Needs a different headline. Exactly one day before Taylor's appearance in a Swiss court, where he will outline the evidence in his case for political asylum, Snowden's gone missing. Taylor first applied for political asylum. What is he talking about? After releasing a book entitled The Nuclear Bible, a self-proclaimed work of love aimed at preventing nuclear terror attack in his home country, the United States. How dead on am I? I don't understand how I understand these things. All right, let's go ahead and read this. On February 1st, 2011, Julian Assange of WikiLeaks revealed that the world, via leaked classified diplomatic, there's Taylor, that Al-Qaeda was on the brink of using a nuclear bomb, and that the West was on the verge of a nuclear 9/11. What the diplomatic documents failed to mention was the actual target date and location of the upcoming nuclear terror attack, published 4 days prior, January 28th. Super Bowl, and Dallas, Texas was the target. After publishing the Nuclear Bible, Taylor conducted multiple radio interviews and phoned numerous intelligence and law enforcement agencies throughout America to personally ensure that no acts of terror were conducted on his fellow American citizens. Thank you. Overwhelming direct and circumstantial evidence, see below, has now surfaced in the aftermath of the failed Super Bowl nuclear terror plot, which unequivocally shows that Taylor's actions did indeed stop or at least postpone a state-sponsored nuclear terror attack upon America. That would basically explain why we even went through that election bonanza. Oh my gosh. Based on the sudden interest in Taylor by U.S. intelligence services, Taylor, anticipating retaliation and fearing for his life, applied for political asylum in Switzerland back in March 2011. Thank God, man. Yeah, that's so amazing that you stopped that shit from happening. Okay. Have no fear for atomic energy because none of them can stop whatever, bro. Alright, the Nuclear Bible. Nuclear Bible is composed of... I've got the worst itch on my nose. 1 second. Here, kid, want to get on? You want to be famous? Am I done with this yet? Finally. Oh, those nasty fucking traitorous bastards on TV. Oh, they'll have their day. They'll have their day. The Nuclear Bible is composed of over 1,000 news articles which ultimately connect the dots of an upcoming false flag nuclear terror attack. Due to the 30 to 60 second nature of a nuclear explosion, it is highly likely that the Super Bowl, World Cup, NBA Finals, World Series, or Olympics will be targeted with millions watching on live TV. Unfortunately, Pakistan has been set up over the last 30 years as the scapegoat of all terror and nuclear proliferation. That's right, because they are... revolutions, quote-unquote revolutions in the Middle East are now likely to domino all the way to Pakistan. I'm pretty sure all of Iran's technology, nuclear technology, is coming out of Pakistan in a legitimate way. Revolutions in the Middle East are now likely to domino, so they would want to do that in Pakistan. Are now likely to domino all the way to Pakistan, where alleged terrorists will gain access to Pakistan's nuclear arsenal. Therefore, it is imperative that the information contained within the Nuclear Bible. So he wrote a book, trying to make money off of it, though. Right, whatever. He forwarded to, well, if they are trying to arrest him for whatever reason, I guess we'll find out about that. Contained within the Nuclear Bible to be forwarded to media and governmental agencies worldwide so that we can collectively avoid this impending nuclear holocaust and the World War III scenario. The point of predicting a terror event is not to say after the fact, look how smart I am. This is a quote from Webster Tarplin. That is despicable. The point of it is to prevent it from happening. Your goal is to be wrong and to make yourself wrong. That's the whole point. To be wrong is to be successful when you've identified something serious. It's actually right. People on GOP call it the GOP effect. Alright. Super Bowl XLV facts and evidence. As with any legal matter, a full, independent, and open investigation must be conducted prior to any filing any legal charges. However, after reviewing the evidence regarding the Super Bowl XLV, it's hard to believe that it's all just sheer coincidence. Numerous news anomalies. When was this written? Okay, do we have a date? This is just kind of going through this is this dude trying to blow this nuclear false flag and keep it from occurring. And if he did go through multiple agencies to try to stop it, maybe he did. That's pretty fucking impressive. Alright. Okay, so what's going on here? So people are saying, one look at the evidence surrounding Super Bowl XLV in Dallas, Texas on February 6, 2011, and anyone would conclude that something was clearly amiss that cold Sunday night in Texas. While there is an overwhelming amount of direct and circumstantial evidence asserting that the premise of Taylor's book was in fact correct, a few unprecedented news headlines such as Feds warn of disguised terrorists at Super Bowl, WikiLeaks Al-Qaeda on brink of using nuclear bomb, world on brink of nuclear 9/11 as Al-Qaeda plans large dirty bomb, give a brief glimpse into the sheer terror that Taylor's journalistic endeavors apparently thwarted. Interestingly, despite Super Bowl XLV being hosted in Dallas, Texas, hometown to lifelong Texan and former Texas Governor George W. Bush, the former U.S. president was curiously on his way to Switzerland, a country he never cared to visit in all the 8 years of presidency. Once the nuclear terror plot was exposed and subsequently postponed, Bush immediately changed his plans and attended the game in Dallas. In the aftermath of the foiled, well, that tells you a lot about how much Bush knows. I mean, that's some confidence right there. If you know it's not going to fucking blow up on you, it means that Bush must be way up there. In the aftermath of the foiled Super Bowl nuclear terror plot, the head of the NFL security suspiciously resigned. How very interesting. Regardless of the growing evidence indicating that Taylor's actions prevented a nuclear holocaust, the Swiss government appears to be succumbing to political pressure by the U.S. to deny Taylor political asylum in Switzerland. Whatever the reason, Taylor's rights, privileges, and predictions under the Swiss Constitution are grossly being violated, untimely, begging following 10 questions. Question number 1. Why is the Swiss government denying Taylor political asylum when Officer Ruhmbull of the Swiss Federal Police informed Taylor that U.S. intelligence services have demands that Switzerland act? The U.S. government would have no sudden demands to interrogate Taylor just 5 days after the release of Taylor's book if it had not been effective in exposing the Super Bowl terror plot. Question number 2. Why is the Swiss government violating their own asylum policy by denying Taylor political asylum? What is asylum policy? I might need that shit. If you run the risk of being persecuted or deprived of liberty in your country or origin, or in the country where you used to live for reasons of race, religion, or nationality, then you may apply for asylum in Switzerland. A further reason to seek asylum may be your political views or affiliation with a certain social group. There's a lot of people that would probably be warranted to go to Switzerland then. It can be submitted verbally or in writing to the border control at the Swiss airport or to a reception and processing center. Asylum applications may only be submitted at the Swiss border or on Swiss territory. Although asylum applications are not bound to any formal provisions They should include supporting evidence of threats or persecution wherever possible. Oh, I could totally do this. But I'm not going to because I'm on the front lines of a info war. Alright. Who is threatened or persecuted in their home? Why is the Swiss government repeatedly refusing to issue Taylor a legal binding document which states the exact asylum laws? All this stuff is just trying to prove, but how does this relate to Snowden here? Why is my nose itchy? Let's see if there's any more conclusion. The Swiss government has an opportunity to help the world's most endangered journalist. There's no question as to why David Chase Taylor needs political asylum, only why he is being denied. Peace, human rights, rule of law, and political sovereignty are touted as being genuine Swiss qualities. It's like Taylor wrote this or something. Imperative that people worldwide. It's like, it's weird that this is being written. What's the Oh, there's a hearing. Historic hearing? Man, I don't know if this is connected. I do think that freaking Snowden is related to a possible false flag nuclear attack. Nuclear terror whistleblower David Chase Taylor in Swiss court. Oh, he's actually going to be in Swiss court on June 25th. Interesting. Come here. Come here. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You want to come up here? Oh, yeah. All right, let's see if we got any more comments. Whoa, I got a lot of comments now. All right, let me read them real quick. The remaining Boston bomber is going to be in court on the 16th. Oh, interesting. The Constitution might be imperfect, but you know, it's constitutional law has the blood of our fathers. Even so, I don't agree with it 100%, but I will defend it. Yep. Oops, I'm sorry. July 10th, Joe Carr will be in court. Okay, July 10th. He's walking, talking, and claiming he's innocent. He's talking, huh? Oh my God, read your comments. Most likely he is. What do you think about Joe Carr in the courtroom? That's going to be interesting. So July 10th. That's quite a bit of. That's quite a ways away. How many weeks is that? That's basically 2 weeks. No. Well, hold on. 1, 2, yeah, so basically 2 weeks away. So there's a lot of time. But what could they be doing? They're probably going to switch up what they could possibly do. What's your most disliked politician? I don't know, because they're all handed down orders. You know, like, so you'd have to pick from people that are legitimately stupid. And I really don't know, because they're all literally told to say what they say. If anything's indicative of that, is that now, you know, whereas they were forced to ignore Ron Paul, now the order is, oh no, just talk about Ron Paul and libertarianism all you want now. His name is, let's go ahead and turn this up. He always basically clues you in on what the psyop is about. Where's the remote control at? Dershowitz. Kind of like a law professor at Harvard, I think. Excuse me. This is amazing. I can't find my remote control right now when I need to. Anyway, Alan Dershowitz is somebody who's totally behind these psychological operations. Yes, I found it.
Because his defense is going to have to be he was weak, he was underneath a much younger and stronger man who was banging his head against the ground, and that he had no choice but to take out his gun and kill him. The way he looks now, it seems to me a jury might think he could have rolled the guy over and just walked away. So I think on balance, it has been going very badly against Zimmerman, and partly as the result of his lawyer's problem.
Yeah, completely agree. And Dershowitz and Roy, thank you both very much indeed. Coming up, Tanis Smiley's here. I just want to know what he thinks about today's courtroom drama in the trial.
So, I don't know, but usually that's a pretty good indicator as to what's going on when Dershowitz starts talking. Okay, so what else is going on? Think Tsarnaev will scream his innocence on the 10th? No, I don't know, because Tsarnaev, what happened to him legitimately happened to him. I think. But will he take that opportunity to scream his innocence? No. It is far too simple, really, to compromise people. So the cops that are around him are in on it. The people in the jail are in on it. The judge and it's a huge cabal, basically. And so there's just way too great of repercussion. The media is in on it. I mean, you just wouldn't be able to oppose them. And they probably incentivized him, like, hey, that wasn't our fault. That was actually a criminal part of the government, so we need to take down that criminal part of the government. Now you're going to help us out. Sorry that happened to you. Now you're going to get shit tons of money to do exactly what we tell you to do now. So he's being incentivized. So it'll be just like James Holmes, basically. He won't barely even talk. He'll just barely talk. He might utter something. Civil War. That's right. I've been seeing a lot of military movement in my area. Although I do live next to a military base, I've never seen it this active. Yeah, I've heard that. There's pretty much a ramp up with, not today, today's the 25th, but with tomorrow being a significant date, the 26th. Active like a volcano. Do you enjoy waffles or pancakes? Waffles. Tsarnaev Court on the 10th. July 10th. What's the significance there? I don't know, because I expect something to go down on July 4th, to be honest with you, so... Aren't we all nuclear when you think about it? We have to go sleep, searching, job tomorrow. Have a good night, everyone. Okay, that sucks, doesn't it? Has everybody done writing comments? Yes. Alright, I'm done. Good night.